In 1981, there was a murder so shocking that it changed the entertainment world forever, yet the killer was never brought to justice. Now, almost 40 years later, we're reopening the case, reviewing old leads as well as new evidence, to try and make sense of a killing which gave rise to a massacre. The who, what, why, and how of when video killed the radio star. Welcome to the Radio Star Murders.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Radio Star Murders. This is a podcast where we are looking at music videos and trying to decide if video did kill the radio star. Right now, we are moving up to 1999. We're going to be doing these in themes that we did the movies for the last one. Now we're going to be doing a couple music videos from 1999, which is a turning point in all of our lives. And we're joined by Clay, as always. Clay, how are you?
I'm good. This is the first one that I'm actively cursing you for, because it's going to be... I mean, I don't know if it's ever really left anybody's head since they've heard it, if it's just perpetually stuck there. Because it's one of those songs where, along with another song that I won't mention, by a group of naked women, at least that's what they call themselves, that can generate an entire day's worth of fuck you based on just the opening line of the song.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm very excited, and we might not even need to play the music for this one. If we just say the first word, everybody'll just do the work for us.
I might just cut in his clip of that coming in. So it's an iconic opening. It's one of those. If I knew what the interval was, it would probably be a good way to remember. Like the Simpsons opening, the Simpsons is the tritone. Mm-hmm. I know that, but that's something that they teach you in music school. So I'm sure there's some interval that he's doing there. Obviously, there's an interval, but we're talking about Smash Mouth's All Star, and we're talking about 1999, which is a
great year.
I only realized that it's the 20 years, obviously, as we're recording this. That wasn't the reason why I chose it, but it's a super bizarre year in music history, I think, by looking at some of the songs we're going to be doing and all these songs that we were able to do. It's I would describe it as a transitional year for music, I think. It is
definitely a year where everybody forgot how colors work.
And Hawaiian shirts were big. Where everyone was wearing floral print Hawaiian shirts at this point.
The bowling shirt renaissance.
Yes. We're going to get into all that and more. We're talking about All Star by Smash Mouth, which is an enormous hit that, to expose my hand, I don't really understand why it became an enormous hit. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the video. But let's get into the song here, Clay, which came out on May 4th, 1999. It peaked at number 4 on the Billboard chart, to the Hot 100. It's a song by American rock band Smash Mouth, and it's pretty much the pinnacle of the 90s, I think. What I think of 99 as a transitional year, like grunge and everything was dying out, right? Like the traditional alternative scene that you think of the 90s is dying out. And this was an era that I think of as, there's a lot of bands that sound like Smash Mouth in this period. Like I think Sugar Ray is another one that's basically the same idea. And what seemed to be happening with a lot of rock bands was they were coming into the grunge scene and like the sort of alternative metal scene too late, and the scene was crowded. So what a couple of these bands found was they just came up with these sort of like adult rock pop song sounds, and they became huge hits for some reason. Like Sugar Ray's built off that. Like Sugar Ray was like a thrash band or something before they came out with Fly. And apparently it's the same thing with this band and like Walking on the Sun. Their first hit, Walking on the Sun, was like nothing like what the rest of the album sounded like. But every hit they did after that sounds like Walking on the Sun.
Which I will say is a song that I did legitimately like when it came out. And I actually listened to it again last night. Still pretty good.
I have this quote here. I'll put a link to this. They have an oral history on Rolling Stone about All Star. And Steve Harwell, who's the lead singer of Smash Mouth, says this. He's talking about Walking on the Sun, which is all the more interesting. But he says, Walking on the Sun changed music. It changed the way people listen to music. I've talked to other artists over the years, and they said the day that song came on the radio, they were like, we are fucked. It was so different and so unusual, and it was so special. It just had that sound that we created. Ask anybody that's tried to copy us. You can't. You just can't. So that's him not even talking about their biggest hit. That's him talking about like their opening single that came out, which is Walking on the Sun. I think everything about that is bombastically untrue and sort of like amazingly full of himself. But
it's basically like a 60s lounge song with a modern hook on top of it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why he thinks it's, reinventing the wheel here.
I mean, it's like the harbinger for this era of rock sound. Like when I think of this age, it's the dying out of the alternative scene and everything. This is kind of when like the record companies started to catch on to what was going on and they commercialized it a lot. Like this is a very commercial era of music with Smash Mouth, and all the
big time.
The big hit pop songs are fairly unoffensive, sort of jangly jingle songs is the way I would describe them. Like All Star is pretty much perfectly that. I think that as a song, All Star is, the lyrics are fine, but it's an unbelievably boring song, which is what surprises me that it did so well.
Yeah, it's really the only thing it has going for it is it's super catchy. And it's got a great chorus that sticks in your brain. There's a great SNL skit from around this time, I think, where Will Ferrell is playing the devil and Garth Brooks is trying to sell his soul to the devil for a hit song, but the devil keeps writing terrible songs. And he's getting really frustrated, and he sits down and he's just trying to like stream of consciousness, and he goes, "Hey you're a nice guy, you're a nice guy, hey, damn it." But it's super catchy. Would it surprise you that this was featured on 3 movie soundtracks? I forgot about Mystery Men.
I completely
not only did
forgot
I forget about, not only did I forget that it was in the movie, I'm assuming because they feature very heavily in the video, but I completely forgot about that movie. Full stop.
I did too. It's been 20 years, as we say, though. I remember Shrek is the thing that I think sticks out the most. I barely remember Mystery Men, which is all the more funny that this is not a music video that features Shrek, but instead features the Ben Affleck comedy Mystery Men, where he dresses up like a superhero along with a lot of other comedians.
Which, for all of our Star Trek fans, features a cameo from Doug Jones as Pencilhead.
Oh, that's who it is. I was trying to... That's who it is. I was trying to figure out why he looks so familiar. It's him as Pencilhead. That's right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Pencilhead's great.
All-Star is... if I grant you that it's the hook is catchy, the lyrics of the hook annoy me on some level. Yeah. Like I was talking about the commercialization of it, but it's basically like become a rock star, get paid is the second line of the chorus.
Yes.
And I don't know. I find this song to be so empty, and I was trying to think of like what I would respect in a pop song, and something that I think would be kind of similar, but is like the total opposite of what I'm talking about here was the song "Somebody That I Used to Know" by Gautier that came out a couple of years ago. They still play that song. If you go to the grocery store, you hear it 7 times before you're out of the grocery store. It's overplayed and it's kind of fucked out and everything, but I can understand why that song is a hit because it's kind of unique and original, and like there's something really interesting about it. It's very poppy in that you can sing along to it, but there's also something to think about. All Star is the opposite to me. It's like this very generic, bland song that has a catchy hook and was in so many movies that you're unable to escape it from like cultural memory, I think.
Yeah, and it's got that guitar sound to it where it's like
post-ska.
Yeah, and it's like an A&R guy was like, man, we really love this big wall of distorted guitar sound that's been happening in rock, but what if we just made it like really quiet and unoffensive?
Yep.
So it's like really distorted guitar, but it's not so loud that it feels heavy, you know?
Yeah.
It's just sort of like taking up the background to imply rock and roll, but not actually being rock and roll.
It always reminds me of it reminds me of just the ska influence. Like with the ska was big in the mid 90s. This is kind of the way that it came out of it. It's sort of it's sort of a light guitar tone, I guess, on top of it with that sort of upbeat strumming that they do in ska.
Yeah.
And, it's very sparse and very empty and everything like that. And then they kick into the, the grunge holdovers that the chorus gets loud. And that's when they're basically doing their version of yelling into it. But
and it even that, it's like the singer's voice is this weird, like very inoffensive approximation of like a hardcore kind of voice where he's not screaming, but he's just kind of like, he's got this lower thing going on anyway.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different sound. But I also forgot that Smash Mouth did a cover of the song "Can't Get Enough of You, Baby" for the Can't Hardly Wait soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, I guess, were the king of soundtracks in the late 90s.
Yeah, it was a good era to be on soundtracks, a lot of movies, yeah.
Yeah. Represent Godzilla, the greatest movie soundtrack ever. But it's and I listened to that song too because I completely forgot about that song as well. And I realized, I think the thing that was so stood out about their sound was that they used like an electric keyboard from the 60s because all of their songs feature that very heavily, and it's a very distinctive sound. And I guess, they changed the face of music with an old Fender Rhodes keyboard and a raspy vocal, I guess.
It's all about just going back to a time before the popular kids remember, and then you reinvent that sound and you claim it to be your own, I suppose. I think it's 1999 is a really interesting, weird year for music, I think. And I don't particularly like this song, but I think that it's hard to argue this is like one of the biggest hits of that era. And like looking at the video, and we can go into the video, like it's just so 1999. It's shocking this is 20 years ago, but the guy's got this like thin chin strap beard, right? His pants have 17 more pockets than you actually need in a pair of pants. And his
it's like if John Popper designed pants.
Basically, if he had lost his harmonica collection, this is exactly the kind of pants that Popper would be wearing. He's kind of, and it's like you're saying, it's like everyone's wearing a bowling shirt and just walking around kind of in a, it's the way they're dressing reminds me of like if you were to go to a Halloween costume as a ska band, I think is like how you would wear, what the kind of clothing that they're wearing. It doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like the grunge era or anything like that. It feels like they're trying to be a thing again in a way that grunge was trying to move away from. It feels like the band is aware of what they're doing and they're trying to be this fashion statement. But outside of that, the video, and I'll throw it to you, the video, I think it's a pretty boring video, actually. And the Mystery Men thing completely was not something I was lost to time. I forgot that they were in this at all.
Yeah, the fashion sense is weird because it's like, it's a cool look that's trying to complement this sort of throwback sound, but they all just look like, kind of like the creepy uncle at a party.
Yeah.
With their big bowling shirts and stuff. And that beard is something to behold. It's like, it looks like he went in and got prepped for a facelift and then just left.
Right. They put the marker on his face when where they're going to make the incisions or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and his whole look, it does look like he's wearing someone else's face. It looks like he's Guy Fieri wearing a face he found on the floor at a Billabong outlet.
He does look like Guy Fieri. It's the
which
90s.
Surprises me. Like this whole thing feels like Frosted Tips come to life.
Yes,
so I can't believe that he doesn't have Frosted Tips.
He's got the gel. He just doesn't have Frosted Tips. He must have been proto.
He's halfway there.
Yeah, he must have been proto. There was a lot of hair gel sold in 1999. I remember my high school days. There was a lot of hair gel involved in that.
Yeah. Did you ever use hair gel?
I did. Yeah. I hated it because I think we've talked about this off the podcast. I hate like lotions of all kind, and hair gel is no different to me. And so when I have hair gel in, all I can think about is how it feels like there's hair gel in my hair.
Yeah. Yeah, I did briefly in high school. I was terrible at it. I was like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
No.
But it involved hair gel and like a brief blow drying period, and it was not great.
Yeah, same. It's and they used to sell the hair gel. Like kids would compare like the hold level of the hair gels for whatever reason. Like if you need to spear somebody with your head, but hair gels kind of died out, at least in the middle-class white culture, I think, that I exist in. It might exist in other cultures.
Luckily, I decided to stop trying to keep up when people started getting blowouts. Do you remember the blowout?
Yes.
I just was like, I'm out. I'm out of this school in like a year and a half. I don't need to deal with any of this stuff.
You only have so much time in the morning. Yeah, that takes 25 minutes to get all that stuff done. Who's got the time for that? But go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know why every music video from this era has this same color scheme, but it is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. It's like they just discovered digital, actually probably what it is they just discovered digital color timing and realized that they can just crank the contrast and everything up on their film and have it make it look like...
Everything's oversaturated. Everything is just super saturated, yeah.
Again, it's like you took Fight Club, which had a really popular aesthetic, and we're like, yeah, but what if kids could watch it?
Mm-hmm. I think,
and it's directed by McG, the movie director. I don't know if he I don't know if he directed Mystery Men. I don't care to look it up, but who would go on to direct Charlie's Angels and the
Genesis?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say the underrated Terminator Salvation.
Oh, Salvation, right, not Genesis, yeah. I don't think I've seen it, but it was not popular when it came out.
It's like 3/5 of a good movie.
Okay. That's pretty good for a recent Terminator movie, I guess would be.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's probably the better of the post Cameron Terminator movies.
So, I mean, does the music video mean anything to you? Like,
No, I told you. I forgot it existed. It was one of those things where it's like I was talking about it with our two of our friends, Laura and Meredith, last night because they are aficionados of 1999, and I've been calling on them for assistance in picking songs and just their points of view of certain things.
And why? And just because that's like of their was that
they
like
just
peak
really
music?
they just really like that era, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
But I was saying to them, before I watched it for the show, I was like, I don't know if I've ever actually seen the music video for this because I was thinking of Shrek and I couldn't picture a music video for this song. But as soon as I hit play, I was like, oh my God, yes, of course. I've seen this video a million times. It's just, it doesn't stick because there's nothing remarkable about it. Like there's no story to, like, it's just this weird mishmash of stuff where he goes in and saves a dog out of a weird red burning house.
But also
and then
not in
they
time.
Smash some cars.
What's funny about the dog saving the dog from the fire is that there's a lyric later on where he talks about being too hot for the fire. And I was like, why didn't they time that up with the saving the thing? That was my only takeaway. It reminds me of there's the Green Day Walking Contradiction video. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. This kind of reminds me of that.
Is it The Warning?
No, it's
Every Morning Live That Warning, where the guy's like, no, I'm thinking, it must be a different one.
The Green Day's Walking Contradiction is like the song is all sort of like oxymoronic lyrics. Talk is cheap, but lies are expensive. But the music video is them kind of walking through this scene where like bad luck things are happening to all the people all around them. It just reminds me of this guy like walking through this like obviously artificial environment that's a set and sort of nonsense is happening around him. Like there's cheerleaders, there's a tipped over school bus. The gist of the video is that he's like the all-star hero who's going to save the day, which isn't really what the song is about. The song is more about like lyrically, I think the song is okay. It's about like go your own path and, do whatever you want to do and don't listen to other people and stuff like that. Like the brightest stars break the mold is the point of the song. But the video is just whatever. And then they mix in the Mystery Men stuff, some of which is just ripped from the movie with the cast inserted, like the band inserted into the scene. It's just kind of stupid.
There's a lot of really great shots of clearly stand-ins for the cast of the movie because they only shoot them from behind.
Yes. Yep. The ending shot is that, which is very obvious. And then, I mean, the video is, it's more like the aesthetic is the only thing that sticks out to me about it. How the late 90s it sounds or feels.
Yeah. It's this weird just pastiche of color and just stuff. It feels like the earlier days of MTV, oddly enough, where like every set for every show was just someone who walked into like a thrift store and grabbed a bunch of stuff from like the 60s, where it's like, oh, we'll put a bowling trophy up here, and then a radio and one of those like vinyl chairs and table sets from like the 50s, and it's just like there's not really a rhyme or I just realized now that they're all wearing bowling shirts and they're singing in front of a giant thing of trophies, which I assume are bowling trophies. But you know what I mean? It's like this weird pastiche of 50s stuff, but also like modern things in some senses, where like they've got this stretch Corvette limo, which was very cool. I would like to see that car in real life. But yeah, I don't remember the movie. I don't remember if Mystery Men has that sort of vibe to it. But the Mystery Men don't feel out of place. Let's put it that way.
No, I don't think Mystery Men really had that vibe. It's more just like it was such a weird, like I'll say it again, just transitional style period. Like the style of this era has not aged well. Like no one dresses like this. Like you'll still see people dressing like grunge Seattle people. That's still something that's a holdover. And you still see kind of like the what came after this, which would be like the nu metal phase, which isn't really popular at this point, but you can still see people who like clearly listen to nu metal.
Yeah, the guy from Smash Mouth does look like he lost 50 pounds, went to the gym, and became the guy from Papa Roach.
Yeah, or the drowning pool guy. They're all very, very similar faces with very similar haircuts and everything like that. Yeah, it's just like these guys kind of look like the ugly version of Lit. Like it's like if you think about that big Lit song, the video where they're in the bowling alley, literally, like they're wearing bowling shirts, but they're in a bowling alley that's based off the 60s or 70s. These guys kind of look like the ugly version of that, and I think the Lit song is a better song than this. Like, why do you think this song got so big? They play this song everywhere still to this day, and it's just, to me, it's just not a song that I have like no personal emotional relationship to it. I remember it, but I think it's kind of a dumb song, and I think it's kind of like an ugly, boring song to listen to. It's just the most blandest song I think possible to make it as big as it possibly did.
Yeah, I think it's got that perfect mix of inoffensive music, catchy hook, lyrics, vaguely affirmative lyrics about being ambiguously, doing your best. It's kind of tailor made for commercials, because you can just drop in the hook, or you can drop in even that doop 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 doop, like that. I would pop up and stuff you don't even need to use the lyrics. The song is kind of like a much more positive version of Thunder by Imagine Dragons.
Sure, it is, yes. It's not vindictive like Thunder is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just catchy and easily digestible, and the sound was of its era enough that it just clicked with people,
That's interesting. I'll be interested, because we have our list of what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the 99, and we'll expose what the next one is shortly. But they're not all bad songs, I wouldn't say. They're certainly of the era, and I think that what's most unique about this theme is we can now say that it's maybe the 20th anniversary of it, and that's the reason why we're doing it. But it's a pretty eclectic year of music.
Yeah,
it's
really weird.
It is really weird.
Like I said at the beginning, it's the year where everybody forgot how colors work. And I think it's the year that everybody who was in charge of music, the music industry, just completely lost control of the ship. Like, they had no idea what worked. And so you have all of these weird, different varying things coming out, and just they're trying stuff, and some stuff isn't working. But like you said, I think they eventually started to figure it out and managed to start packaging it very, very effectively. Like, once you start getting into the era or the rise of the boy bands and Britney Spears and stuff like that, it's like they've really pinned it down. Like, all of those songs were written by the same guy, basically. So once they figured out what worked, they just ran with it. I think pop music actually was more consistent than rock music was.
Yes.
Because rock music was really starting to flail around because, like you said, grunge was over. You've got, if you just
classical alternative, I think has ended by this point. Like there's no, it doesn't even have to be grunge, but it can be what I think of as like the 90s rock sound, which would be like, I wouldn't really consider Stone Temple Pilots grunge. I don't think they kind of sound grungy, but I don't consider them to be a grunge band, but I like them and Smashing Pumpkins and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking it up. I forget why I was looking it up, but I was looking at a poster from Woodstock 99 that had the list of people who played at Woodstock 99. Talk about a weird list. Like it was just a really random group of people that kind of was indicative of how weird rock music was at the time in 1999.
Yeah.
And then once they figured out how to repackage it, they kind of, homogenized it and turned it into whatever the early 2000s was, which was not great either. But
this also to me kind of signifies the end of like a big long stretch of genre. Like to me it feels like the grunge scene was around for a while, and then metal was before that in the 80s, and then like it felt like there were very distinct powerful eras in music. This is probably just like blinding me by nostalgia, or like this is my own personal take on it, but when you get to 99, every sort of fad that comes through feels like it happens lightning quick and then is gone very quickly.
Yeah.
And this feels like the start of that. It feels like the transition into that kind of like, what's the hot thing that's going to happen this week and how long is it going to last? Oh, it lasted 3 weeks in the summer of 1999 and now it's over.
Yeah, and I think there's some bits that follow through, like, at a certain point people started adding DJs to their rock group, and then like that music kind of went away, but people still kept using DJs for some reason, and it turned into, something even more awful. But yeah, as far as like genres go, it does, once you get to the end of the 90s, genre becomes a much smaller word. Like I think you can get into all of these like subgenres, but I think the reason that there's so many subgenres is because there's not many overarching large genres, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like they're all microcosms that aren't necessarily spun off from a bigger zeitgeist thing. It's just, well, these guys use a DJ. Well, these guys do
wear
kind
masks.
of a throwback thing.
There was a big era for masks.
Yeah, well, these guys wear masks. Oh, these guys, they use keyboard sound from the 60s and play in loungewear, It wasn't, I feel like, unless I'm misremembering things, I feel like it wasn't until like the Strokes came around where rock music finally got like another hard genre you could point to.
That still felt not very popular though. That felt like an underground rock movement when there was the Strokes and the Hives and things like that. That like garage rock sound.
I think it's because rock music in general just didn't have the cachet that it used to. I think pop music got really big in the 90s. I think R&B got huge, rap got huge, and I think rock music has ever since the decline of grunge, rock music has been kind of falling further and further to the background. It's just I don't want to turn to a snob about it or anything, but like as far as like capital R rock and roll music is just, it's just not what it used to be.
Yep.
And I don't want to sound like an old guy. I'm not saying that for better or worse. It's just a fact.
Yeah, all genres die. We were just around for rock and roll, so it seems like it was the kind of music that would never die, and it's pretty much gone at this point, which is not, there's going to be rock-influenced acts and everything like that. Like I would say Smash Mouth is a rock-influenced act, but it's just a... Yeah, I mean, we'll wrap it up there. It's just, it seems to me like who was buying CDs at this point might have had some kind of impact too. Like this is a big peak CD era, and maybe this is the kind of hit that like, the 40-year-old soccer mom is also buying in addition to the kids at that point. Yeah. Like it might have been that kind of a song that a lot of different people were buying, and that propelled it and became its own self-perpetuated thing. But outside of that, I think it's just a really forgettable song and video.
Yeah, I think CD buying is a big thing too. Yeah, because I do remember at the time, I knew when Eminem was over was when my mom went out and bought the clean edit of an Eminem album. And I was like, oh, all right, well, I guess he's done.
Sat back with an O'Doul's non-alcoholic beer and just enjoyed the smooth tempo and beats of Slim Shady.
This woman Kim sounds lovely.
He's only got good things to say about her in this song. Let's see. So, yeah, we'll call it there. Did video kill the radio star for this song, Clay?
No, I don't. This song is just completely outlasted and blew away the video. I mean, the video may as well not even exist.
Yeah. The video might as well just be even more clips of Mystery Men, and then we'd be happy with it and it'd be fine. Yeah, I think the video is incredibly forgettable. It's not like if someone were to say like list all the 1999 songs and videos that you think of, this would definitely not be anywhere near the top in terms of the stuff that I would come out with. And I think like the one we're going to be discussing next week, it's the one we're just if I'm right, I might be wrong about this, but.
You might be wrong because I think I've changed my pick. But well,
if we do eventually, just a lot of the videos are. I remember the video being an iconic part of the song for this era. Like I remember, Eminem's "My Name Is." The video was like a big. I never heard the song without the video. Would be the way to describe that. Yeah, I would agree. I don't think that video killed the radio star in this way. I don't think. I think it saw the song and thought that it wasn't a worthy target of bringing down. It's like a predator call. It was like, it's unarmed. I'm not going to do anything to it. And the video is just kind of forgettable and bland and very, very 90s. That's the only reason that I would say it's worth checking out.
Yeah, very 90s is an interesting way to put it because it is from 1999, and I think 1999 had its totally its own thing.
Yes.
Like
it's sort of like the Roadhouse and stuff that came out in 1980, or Terminator that came out in like 89 and stuff is not really an 80s movie. You know what I may be wrong about Terminator, but there are movies that are like that you're like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
They blend into the next genre. They blend into the next decade. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like like Alien came out in 1979, but it doesn't feel like a 70s movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I know we're in trouble if this look starts coming back.
You haven't held on to your bowling shirts?
No, I mean, well, now I probably should start wearing them just to cover how much weight I've put on in the last handful of years, but
just start shaving into a chin strap, get those on, and we are going to bring back the style of the late 90s. And
that beard, man. We could have done 20 minutes just talking about that beard.
It's a lot of
work.
The
only person who pulls that beard off now is David Ortiz.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's true. Get well soon, David Ortiz, also at this point. Let's see. I think we're done with this. We talked about the video. We talked about the song. We talked about whether or not it works. And I think we're going to be moving on. So, Clay, do you want to say what your pick for the next video we're going to discuss from 1999 is?
Yes, your comment still stands, even though I think it might be for a different video. Next week, we'll be talking about Baby One More Time by Britney Spears.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the direct opposite of this song where it's like the video is arguably more important than the song was.
Yeah. It's probably lasted more in the cultural memory. So we're going to be doing that. Baby One More Time, Britney Spears. We'll be back with that next week. So, guys, thank you very much for listening. This is the Radio Star Murders. You can show your support by subscribing, checking it out on YouTube. I think this is going to be the first one where we're going to be playing the music of the song underneath our commentary here, at least on the MP3 download version. If you want to see the video, you can go to the YouTube version and check it out there, but there's not going to be any song in the YouTube version for obvious reasons because YouTube will take it down. So there's a little bit
we're trying to give you everything without getting snagged by the copyright people.
Right. So you have to go to two places to get the whole idea, which is maybe
double dipping,
which is maybe a little bit inconvenient, but depending on your mood, you can either listen to the song or you can watch the video.
Sorry, I choked in my water.
And Clay's going to vape in the background, and we're going to continue.
Come listen to our video and our podcast.
Guys, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for supporting the show. Somebody, it's time to go, and we'll see you next time.